Noah Lyles, man. What was he even thinking? The guy's an Olympic champ, one of the fastest dudes on the planet. And here he is racing against iShow speed. A streamer, not an athlete, but a streamer. Like, you couldn't script something more random if you tried. The race wasn't even about who's faster. Spoiler alert, it was Lyles. Obviously, it was about the absurdity of it all. A legit gold medalist versus a guy whose main talent is screaming on live streams. Now, don't get me wrong, Speed held his own for a solid second or two, which, let's be real, was longer than anyone expected. The gun goes off, and boom, Speed actually got a decent start. For half a second, it's like, wait, is he actually keeping up with Lyles? And then reality hit, and Lyles just shifted gears. It was like watching a Tesla leave a bike in the dust. Lyles crossed the line smooth as butter, probably thinking, that's it? This is what people tuned in for? And meanwhile, Speed's back there looking like he just discovered what Olympic speed really means. But here's where it gets weird. The internet exploded over this. Not about Lyles winning, because duh, we knew that was happening, but about the fact that he even agreed to do this race. Like, bro, you're an Olympic champion. What are you doing racing a YouTuber? Some people thought it was fun. Others thought it was embarrassing. And a lot of us were just like, what the hell's happening to sports? Think about it. Lyles is that guy in track and field. He's won the medals, set the records, and proven over and over that he's the real deal. And now he's out here racing a guy who yells at his monitor for a living? It's like putting an NBA star in a 1v1 against a dude from your local YMCA. Sure, it's funny, but also, why? Is this what we're doing now? And it's not just about the race, it's what it represents. This wasn't just Lyles trying to flex his speed. This was a whole new level of crossover between sports and internet culture. It's like, in 2024, being the best in your field isn't enough anymore. You've got to be entertaining, relatable, and apparently willing to race internet celebrities. Winning medals doesn't keep you trending. Viral moments do. But let's talk about Lyles here. What does he really get out of this? Sure, he just put his speed on display for over 100,000 people watching live, most of whom probably couldn't name a single Olympic sprinter before this. But at what cost? You're an elite athlete, man. This kind of thing feels beneath you. Like, imagine Usain Bolt in his prime racing against a Twitch streamer. It just doesn't feel right, you know? The wildest part? Even though Lyles won, Speed somehow came out of this looking like the hero. People were hyping him up for just being brave enough to step on the track with an Olympic champ. And yeah, credit where it's due, Speed put himself out there. But let's not pretend this was close. Lyles absolutely cooked him. Yet somehow the focus wasn't on how amazing Lyles is, but on how entertaining Speed was. It's like the whole point of the race got lost in the memes. And this isn't just about Lyles and Speed, it's about what sports are becoming. Athletes aren't just athletes anymore, they're brands. They've gotta be on TikTok, collab with influencers, and do goofy stuff like this to stay relevant. And look, I get it. Times are changing and athletes have to evolve. But there's something kinda sad about seeing someone like Lyles, an actual legend, get dragged into this circus just to keep his name out there. That's the thing though. For all the ridiculousness of this race, it worked. People who didn't care about sprinting before were suddenly talking about it. The memes, the debates, the "what did I just watch?" reactions. It all put Lyles in front of a new audience. So maybe this was all part of the plan. Maybe Lyles knew exactly what he was doing. Or maybe he just thought it'd be fun and didn't care how it looked. Either way, it's hard to ignore the irony here. Lyles is one of the fastest humans alive, but this race wasn't about speed at all. It was about entertainment, and in the process, it kinda cheapened what makes sprinting so amazing. Track and field is raw, pure, and about pushing human limits. This felt more like a gimmick, like a sideshow, and Yeah, it was funny, but it also left me wondering if this is the future of sports. So, what's the takeaway from all this? Honestly, I'm not even sure. On one hand, you've got to respect Lyles for putting himself out there and showing off his talent to a wider audience. On the other, it's hard not to cringe a little at the whole thing. He didn't need to do this. He's already proven himself a million times over. But here we are talking about it, so maybe that was the point all along. Here's the thing. No matter how ridiculous that race was, it worked. People who didn't know Noah Lyles before now have his name stuck in their heads. Whether they respect him or not is a different story. But they're talking about him, and in today's world, that counts for something. It's a weird time for athletes, man. You're not just competing on the track anymore. You're competing for attention. You've got to stay relevant in a culture where the next big thing is only one viral clip away. And this race, it was definitely a viral moment. But let's not ignore the downside. For Lyles, this wasn't just a fun little event. It came with risks. The biggest one? Looking like he's trying too hard. You're an Olympic champion, dude. You shouldn't need to prove yourself in a 50-meter sprint against a streamer. The fact that people are even questioning why you do this says a lot. It's not that the race itself was bad, it's that it felt beneath someone of his caliber. It's like a Michelin star chef entering a hot dog eating contest. Sure, it's entertaining, but does it really add to their legacy? And that's the heart of it. Legacy. Lyles isn't just racing for fun. He's building a career that'll be remembered long after he's done competing. Every decision, every race, every public appearance, it all adds up to how people will talk about him decades from now. And while this race might have been good for short-term buzz, does it do anything for the long term? Probably not. But here's the kicker. This race wasn't even about Lyles. It was about speed. The dude somehow turned this whole thing into a win for himself. Think about it. He went up against an Olympic champion and didn't completely embarrass himself. That's a W in his book. Social media ate it up. People were like, yo, Speed's got some serious guts. And yeah, he does. But let's not forget, Lyles destroyed him. The gap between them wasn't even close. Yet somehow, Speed walked away looking like the underdog hero, and Lyles was just there. That's the power of internet culture, though. It's not about who actually wins. It's about who captures the moment. And Speed, he owned that moment. Meanwhile, Lyles came across as the guy who showed up, did what everyone expected, and left. No surprises, no drama, no viral soundbite, just a clean, easy win. And in today's world, easy win doesn't go viral. Chaos does. So, what does this say about where we're headed? Are we going to see more of this crossover stuff? Probably. Athletes and influencers teaming up for weird stunts seems to be the future. And honestly, it's not all bad. It's a way to bring new audiences to sports, to make things fresh and exciting. But there's a line in events like this risk crossing it. When the focus shifts from the sport to the spectacle, you start losing what made the sport special in the first place. And for Lyles, that's the real challenge. How do you stay relevant without losing what makes you great? How do you tap into this crazy, meme-driven world without turning yourself into a meme? It's a balancing act, and not everyone can pull it off. For every athlete who successfully navigates the internet age, there's another who gets swallowed by it. At the end of the day, Lyles is still an incredible athlete. No gimmick race is going to change that. But moments like this can chip away at the respect people have for you if you're not careful. You can't blame him for wanting to reach new audiences, but you've got to wonder, was this the best way to do it? Couldn't he have found a way to showcase his talent without turning it into a sideshow? And let's not forget, this wasn't just a race, it was a statement. Whether he meant it or not, Lyles showed the world that even the best athletes aren't immune to the pressures of staying relevant. It's not enough to win medals anymore. You've got to be entertaining, marketable, and willing to step out of your comfort zone. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, it does change the game. This whole thing was ridiculous, sure, but it also said a lot about where we are as a culture. Sports aren't just about sports anymore. They're about moments, stories, and connections. And while this race might not go down as one of Lyles' greatest achievements, it'll definitely be one of his most talked about moments. And in the end, maybe that's what he was going for all along. Crazy, right? Who knew a 50-meter sprint could say so much about fame, sports, and the internet? But here we are. What a time to be alive.